Virginia Beach, Virginia, with its bustling town center. The beach itself has condos, restaurants, shops, and this Atlantic coast scene. The sand is brown. I prefer the white sands of the Gulf, but that's just my preference. This is a cool and lively place. One of the things to see down here is this really cool statue of Neptune. This is cool. Built in 2005, it has a 12-foot rock base with various sea life. And on top of that is a statue, waist up, of Neptune holding a trident and a sea turtle. The statue was sculpted from bronze by artist Paul de Pasquale of Richmond, Virginia, and weighs in at 12 tons. This is one of his most famous sculptures and is most impressive. In 2003, the Neptune Festival requested submission designs for a statue, and this was the end result. Sitting at the entrance of Neptune Park and displaying the skill of the artist, he really captures the essence of the sea life immortalized here. There were initially some structural issues due to a cheap support. This was replaced by stainless steel, and today this statue stands as a proud landmark with the sea as his backdrop. An hour and a half south is Kill Devil Hills, where history was made by two brothers. So the main visitor center is closed for renovation, but they've got some other buildings set up. Let's see what this is. We'll come back to this. Commemoration. 25 years after the Wright brothers achieved flight, 3,000 people from more than 40 nations witnessed the laying of the Wright brothers monument cornerstone upon Kill Devil Hill. First flights, December 17th, 1903. These boys were true innovators. Notice how they flew. Their achievement is recorded in locations all around the place. The first successful flight of an airplane was made from this spot by Orville Wright, December 17, 1903, in a machine designed and built by Wilbur Wright and Orville Wright.
There was a coin toss, I think, when they were flying, like to see who would fly first.
The Wright brothers learned what they knew from their experience working with bicycles and small engines in a shop in Ohio. They came to Kitty Hawk, although more specifically apparently Kill Devil Hills, which is where we now are, in 1900, and they returned again in 1911. But they did not so much invent the airplane. People have been experimenting with that for a long time.
So here's the spot where the flight ended. If you stand, backwards, you can see from here to the first monument.
Okay.
What's the first flight?
12 seconds. Progress came in little steps. So they didn't invent the airplane. They did build their airplanes, but it had been going on for a while with other people, and they learned from those other people. What they did, they perfected the controls.
Here. A little more distance.
175 feet.
The second flight.
Can you imagine the fear mixed with excitement these guys must have felt?
And the third flight. Again, you can see it's 200 feet, so it's 25 more feet, and they're alternating pilots. The Wright brothers were a partnership, and they each took equal credit for the research and everything they did, and I think that's what's bolstered their success.
Team effort.
It was an effort. And when you're walking out here, I mean, it is preserved. We're on a little rubbery path, but the field is unblemished and flat, and I imagine looks just exactly like it did.
Except there was no grass at the time, it was all sand. People working with flight up to the time of the Wright brothers saw a flying machine as being like something on the ground, as staying level, and like a car or a buggy.
Probably at the time, like a train only, in the sky.
Right. And they realized that the plane would need to roll and
bank like a bicycle, because they worked in a bicycle shop. And how when you turn on a bike, you kind of lean. That was the technology they were working off of.
Exactly. The Wright brothers could not dominate the aviation industry because they didn't have the business understanding nor the temperament to deal with that it would have taken to dominate the market. It seems that their place was simply to perfect flight, and they did amazing things. They without their mastering of controlling a plane, it would have never gotten off the ground, so to speak. So we have a monument way down here that is a good distance, as you can see, from the other monuments way down there. Let's see what this one has to say.
Oh, and from here, if you notice, like those wooden buildings are a recreation of the camps they were staying in. So obviously the visitor center wasn't here. They were just like a field, and they had like these little wooden campsites. It's the time is 59 seconds, so a similar time. The distance though is 852 feet. So you can see that was why it was a long walk, was a big jump in between, and Wilbur was piloting.
Cool. As you can see down there where those people are is where the first, second, and third flights took place, and if you can see the ground covered to the fourth flight. These buildings are, as stated, recreations of the hangar used to store the Wright Flyer and living quarters out in what was a pretty isolated area in the early 1900s. The picture shows how empty the land was. The living quarters weren't bad. Roomy, actually looks quite comfortable. When this was shot, the park had temporary buildings set up. So the main visitor center is closed for restoration, or renovation, as you can see it over there, and this is what they have now. A bookstore, restrooms, and up on that hill, the monument to a century of flight. Okay, so the Wright Brothers Memorial and Visitor Center has a recreation of the plane that they flew. But since the Visitor Center is under renovation, the plane's not even here. It's been in Raleigh, and it's either on its way back or it's back, but it's not set up.
It was a replica.
Anyway. It was a replica.
The real one's in the Smithsonian.
But here's another replica.
You're welcome.
That's what it looked like, y'all. Spoiler, we'll see the actual replica. T-shirts. Wright Flyer. They've got a pretty good temporary setup. By the time this is released, the visitor center will be long finished.
Oh, the statue of
Okay, so Stacey bought a book from the gift shop, and you can stamp it with today's date and Wright Brothers National Memorial.
We'll protect this part. And all now.
And I trust Brian to do it because he has really good. No, not there. No, I'm just kidding. Put it right. Yeah, put it right there in the middle. Yeah. What? See how fun that is? Then years later, when it's in a Goodwill, it'll be like, oh, this is from the actual place.
We sat in this Ranger Talk presentation, but there was thunder, and they had to end this one for potential lightning.
And the weather is going to clear up going into this week. Chances are you'll probably find yourself on the beach at some point. So keep some of this in mind. Be sure to check before you leave in the morning, see what the risk current forecast is. You have an idea of what.
It looks like we've got some weather coming in. It's been drizzling today, and we're trying to hit this this monument before everything breaks loose. So we've got They had to cancel the talk because if you hear thunder one time, they have to cancel.
Apparently, if you hear thunder one time in the deep distance, you have to cancel the ranger talk.
3 weeks ago, they did have a building hit with lightning. So lightning is an issue when we're out in the wide open, flat areas. But we're going to go up here and see if we can see this monument before we get fried.
And if we do get fried, let this video be a memorial and just try to have the adventurous spirit and don't cower in your home.
Yeah, exactly.
We're saying it's worth the risk.
It is worth
If you
the
sign
risk.
up for Starfleet, you know the risks.
Right. I was very impressed by the potential for death. Wow. All that grass out there used to be sand. And in the 1920s, I think,
They started digging up Kill Devil Hill, I guess to make it bigger for the monument, and seeds spread everywhere.
so yeah, this hill, which I believe is Kill Devil Hill, used to be a sand dune. All right, let's get over here and have a look at this thing and get out of here before we all get fried. Okay, so I'm climbing up this hill to see this monument. Trying to hurry because, well, trying to beat the storm. And it's pretty steep up here. Get your heart racing a little bit. Finally to the top, the monument to a century of flight. From here, you can see where the flights took place in the town of Kill Devil Hills. Yeah, that sky looks a little ominous. In commemoration of conquest of the air.
First, then you get 2.
An appropriate monument to these pioneers who are immortalized here. A monument to the Wright brothers, but also to incredible vision. And alas, it's time to descend. You can see just how wide open it was. And more so in those days because you didn't have the town.
And we're noticing this is kind of a little one-horse resort town, and it's a rainy day. So I think if you're not really going to the beach today, this is kind of a place to come before you go to something called the Cotton Gin. They were sort of talking about Cotton Gin. So you might not get somebody who's like passionate about early aviation and don't really know where they are, but that's okay because this is a national park and it's open to all of us, you know, Americans and non-Americans, and there's a lot of people from other lands here respecting this site and enjoying the day, so it's really nice to see. It's really nice to see that.
It is.
So support your parks. Find your park.
It's really fascinating because our land is scattered with relevant historic sites. A lot of people think of history as boring, all black and white, grainy film, if you get any of it at all. But let me tell you, friends, back in the day, it was as real as right now is to you and me. And the Wright brothers, you know, they were out here flying this glider that they made themselves, propelled by an engine they made themselves. And they had to work out all these calculations to get this thing to fly. There was no textbook to tell you how to fly because it hadn't been invented yet. And they were out here in full color doing something crazy. And we get ready to depart a place that, like all of them, impact me more than I expect. But wait, we came back again later. The sky was clear and the Wright Flyer was in the brand new visitor center, where they have all of their exhibits properly displayed.
One right beside it. It's airstrip.
and on its very own platform, the recreation of the plane itself. One of the early predecessors of all modern airplanes. The brothers flew from this saddle of sorts right beside the engine. The Wright Flyer, the centerpiece of Kill Devil Hills, Virginia. So after all of that, you might find yourself a little hungry. I am. So I came here. So I ate here a few days ago and found something that was really kind of unusual and neat. And I thought we might have it again. Inside is your standard casual American eatery. We'll just take this booth in the back. So as I said, I was here the other day and I got this entree, the Carolina biscuit. And I thought it was just a clever name. But no, it's on a biscuit. And usually I don't like sandwiches on a biscuit. Like if I go to Chick-fil-A, I don't get the biscuit. I never get the biscuit. If I go to Bojangles, I always get the Cajun filet, but on a bun. So anything that's on a biscuit usually turns me off. But I decided to try this because, well, it's barbecue. And if you don't like it, you can always rake the biscuit aside. It comes with a side. And the slaw, which I get light, this slaw has jalapeno in it, so that forgives the slawness of it a little bit. Oh yeah.
It is Carolina.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Need anything else right now?
I think I'm good.
Alright, you enjoy.
Barbecue topped with fresh jalapenos and jalapeno slaw with a side of macaroni topped with scallions. See? Biscuit. A little barbecue sauce. Though it really doesn't need it. So let's see. Here's our barbecue. Oh yeah. I take a bite and it's just as amazing the second time around. My only critique of the sandwich is because of the biscuit has a tendency to fall apart a little bit easier. But you can work around that. Even if you have to scoop it with a fork, it is delicious. What can I say? Fine cuisine. So a barbecue sandwich on a biscuit. Thumbs up. We'll see you down the road.